Hello. So my name is Caitlin Mias. I am a summer naturalist at Dorothy Pico Nature Center here in Sioux City. So I will be hosting live animal lunchtime today. And so last week you met Scarlet, our red-tailed hawk, and today you'll be meeting Walt, our western fox snake. So you can kind of see he's kind of having fun right now and exploring. So sometimes he'll like to climb up, and that's because Walt is also able to climb because he has special scales on the bottom of his body that help him climb up trees, shrubs, and other things. So he also sometimes likes to just kind of hang. And the other part you'll notice about the way that he's wrapped around me is he is a constrictor snake. So Walt is not a poisonous snake. So when he hunts for food, he'll trap it and squeeze it, and then he'll eat it. But he is perfectly harmless to you. Because you're so much bigger than he is, he will tend to have a very shy response. So if you come up on a snake in the woods, especially a fox snake, they're going to be very likely to slither and run away from you or to hide. So then their other natural responses is if you would pick them up, they're most likely not going to bite you. They're going to try to scare you or to make you not want them by releasing a musk. A fox snake's musk, as you might have guessed, smells like a fox, like fox urine and musk. So that's how they got their name. Walt got his personal name because every fox snake has the same pattern of spots. And you can see it right there. There's a Mickey Mouse sign. So if I flip it, maybe you can see it better. So he has 2 Mickey Mouse spots on his body. And every fox snake, if you look closely, is gonna have that same pattern hidden within their spots on their scales. So the other responses of fox snakes when they feel threatened is because they want to appear more threatening, so they will imitate other species. So fox snake, just like a bull snake, can imitate the prairie rattlesnake. So he'll take his tail and he'll thump it against the nearest object so that it makes that sound similar to a rattlesnake might make, so that you think he's more poisonous than he is and might leave him alone. Okay? So additionally, he might strike at you. So they will not typically bite to try to scare you, to strike you. They'll close their mouths and then strike out at you. Sorry, he's kind of getting wiggly because he's very curious today. We have had Walt at the Nature Center for quite some time. So he was donated in 2011 by former Morningside professor Bill Hayborn. We estimate that Walt is about 15 years old. A fox snake's typical lifespan is around 12 to 20 years. So he's kind of an old man, to be honest with you, which is part of why he's so calm. Walt is a fairly large fox snake. He's fully grown. So he is about 4.5 feet long. Fox snakes can range from anywhere from 3 feet to 5 feet long. So he's on the larger side. And the reason that they grow to different sizes, where that range is because they grow to accommodate how much food they eat. So Walt has a fairly simple and regular diet. So during the summer months when he's active, he'll eat about 3 mice each week. In the winter months, when he is less active and he goes into dormancy, which is a form of hibernation, we'll offer him 3 mice every 2 to 3 weeks. So sometimes he'll eat it and sometimes he won't because he's just not hungry because he's in dormancy stage. So they go into that stage in October and they come out and become active again in April. and that's also when their mating season starts. So fox snakes will mate from April to July, and then they'll have the fall to mature before they go into that dormancy stage. And so where do fox snakes live? They are native to Woodbury County and to Iowa. So they like prairie grasslands, the edges of woodlands. They like to live near stream, kind of riverbeds. But they've also adapted, because there's so many humans living around, that they've also adapted to live in town. So it's not always uncommon to find a fox snake around in your backyard. But they are a protected species, just like all snakes in Iowa. So it's illegal to kill or harm, or even to take a fox snake as a pet. So they are a protected species in Iowa. Okay. So I'm going to put him in his tank. And this is the part where if you are a little bit squeamish or a little bit nervous, we will be feeding Walt live today. And because he is a carnivore, that means I will be feeding him a mouse. We don't feed him live animals because we don't want to see those animals in pain or potentially harm our own educational animals, because a mouse would try to survive and would fight back, so it could hurt him. So we buy pre-killed mice that are frozen and we thaw them out, and then we feed them to our animals. But Walt will be eating that today, so if that would make you uncomfortable, this would be the time to maybe close down the video. Okay? We'll see if he'll slither down into it. One thing you might have also noticed while I was holding Walt is his tongue flickering out. Why would he do that? Do you think he's trying to taste me, to see if I'm something to eat? Walt, snakes typically have very poor eyesight. So they sense what's around them by using their smell, their sense of smell, and they use their tongue to also aid in that sense of smell. Okay? For this first mouse, I'm going actually to hold it by its tail, and I'll have him strike it so that you can see what that would look like while he catches prey, or what that might look like in the wild if he were to do that. I have tongs so that he's not getting close to my fingers, because that's just the smartest plan of action. He does not have fangs. What I have heard is that if I were to get bitten, he's never bitten anybody, but if I were to get bitten, it would feel like, kind of like a Velcro. That's what their teeth would feel like. And snakes will eat their food whole, and they have a very long stomach that goes most of the length of their body, and that's how he will digest it. The other thing you'll notice is his jaw does not work like your jaw. So our jaws have a hinge, so they open like this. A snake's jaw will actually open up. So it's like this, and it will open up like that, and they'll swing it forward to move the food down and in. So if you look carefully, you can kind of see him doing that motion to work the mouse into his body. And as the mouse goes in, you'll be able to see kind of where it is in his body, because it will swell up, which is kind of interesting and cool to see.
you have further questions about fox snakes that I just haven't answered yet or talked about, feel free to drop it in the comments and we'll answer those as soon as we can. One thing that you'll notice is that after we feed Walt, we will not be picking him up to put him back in his enclosure. So he'll stay in this tank for just a little bit to help him digest, so that he does not regurgitate his food and vomit back out at us. So it's not a good idea to handle a snake right after eating because they're still in that hunter and predator mode. So they're more likely to think that you are food. And they're also going to be more likely to have digestion problems if you handle them right away.
We have a question that says, how big of an animal can it digest?
We have really small rodents, but he can eat much larger things. It kind of depends on how hungry they are. I'm pretty sure he can eat some eggs, larger, but he tends to eat mostly rodents though in the wild. So full-grown mice, moles, voles, things of that nature would be what he would typically eat. Okay.
And we have another question that says, where are his organs, or where are his other organs like the heart located?
They're also, I think, so sometimes you can see him breathing, which is kind of cool. I've only noticed that once. It's also a longer organ, but most of his organs are very narrow and very small. Oh, he knows what's happening now. And because he is a climbing snake, you kind of have to be careful that you don't open the enclosure because he could climb out, and we don't want him to get loose because he is cold-blooded and he might get cold, or outside he would get very hot. So he has been in captivity his whole life. So hopefully you got to see him strike that mouse and eat it. And I'm actually gonna just put this other mouse in there so that he can eat it and find it when he's ready. Put it on this side. If you want, you can take this one. And if you want to see, there's an x-ray picture of what a snake would look like as it's digesting a mouse. So you can see there's the mouse within, so you can see its skeletal structure. So it does just kind of sit in his stomach and in his body while he digests it.
There's a question asking, how often is he fed?
So we feed him 3 mice every week during the summer. And then during the winter months, because he is in hibernation almost, or dormancy is what the official term is, he wants to eat less. So we offer mice every 2 to 3 weeks. He'll have 3 mice offered, and he may or may not choose to eat them. So it might take him a little bit to find that other mouse. And so